and I'm nothing like you. Look at you go, I just adore you. I wish that I knew what makes you think I'm so special.
Welcome back to the Steven Universe Retrospective. I'm Mr. Landstrom, and the last time we left off with these morons, we had pink lions, real wrestling, and a dash of love. Fun all around. Well, without wasting any more time, let's get right into it. In this episode, after yet another successful mission, Steven treats the gyms to some arcading, though it releases some competitiveness. Arcade Mania is one of the more laid-back episodes. Well, as laid back as the gyms can be, that is. We've hardly seen them, specifically Garner and Pearl, relaxing and doing mundane activities for the sake of it. Even Pearl comments that humans' pastime seems to be rather odd. But even she finds herself invested in a racing game. Garnet in particular gets involved with a dancing game to the point where she's entranced into it after playing it for long periods of time. And that's all well and good, until some small starfish-like gym monsters attack them and need Garnet's strength and leadership. Then that's when shit starts to hit the fan. Steven has to fight and beat the entranced Garnet in the game, and he succeeds. Oh, no, not by beating her fairly, but by smashing the game machine as a whole. You just keep racking up that property damage, don't you? This doesn't go unnoticed by the owner, as after Steven breaks Garnet free of her trance, he's forced to stay behind and clean up his mess. And I'm kinda with the owner on this one. Steven keeps breaking his shit, indirectly or otherwise. Take responsibility for your actions, you twit. Giant woman. God, where do I even begin with this one? When I decided to, and utterly failed at rewatching the entirety of Season 1 again, this was one of the few episodes that I did watch and liked a lot. Steven, Amethyst, and Pearl team up to find this weird gem beetle thing. I don't know what it is, and frankly, I don't care, because it's really not all that important. The real crux of this episode is teamwork, and what better way to do that than to have the two diametrically opposed characters having to team up for a mission. Pearl and Amethyst play off each other quite well, with the former being composed but an uptight do-gooder, and the latter being more laid back but irresponsible and wild. You even have Steven thrown into all of it to keep the two from strangling one another. The monster itself is pretty standard, not much to say. No, what really steals the show is fusion. Once again, this is an episode that we learn more about gems. They can fuse together to make one individual stronger than its separate components. Even the way the fusion itself is performed is very akin to something you would see out of Dragon Ball Z. The only real difference is that each individual gem has their own custom way of dancing. It mesmerizes Steven and captivates the audience. What is this fusion? What does it look like? And most importantly, will it be strong enough to save the day? Our answer is Opal. Opal, despite being introduced at the very end of the episode, has solidified herself as the boss queen, taking out the monster effortlessly. Opal, despite being a badass, has a deeper meaning to her. She represents that despite their bickering and their differences, Amethyst and Pearl are ultimately able to set aside those differences for what's more important. Opal represents camaraderie, and I wish I saw her more often. Since fusion will be a large staple of the series, I will naturally delve more into it as we continue onward. As it stands right now, it's an amazing introduction. Oh, and we can't talk about Giant Woman without talking about Giant Woman, the song. It's the first episode where we hear a musical number, and it's quite nice. It's not my favorite song, but I can't lie that there's definitely a nice little touch of cuteness to it. Zach Callison definitely has the talent to show for it. The boy can sing. With a good story, great character development, and a wonderful intro to a beloved part of the series, we got ourselves a fantastic episode. In the episode So Many Birthdays, Steven believes he shouldn't be celebrating his birthdays due to the gym's not either. And when he ends up running off, he slowly begins to feel old. Really old. Okay, to keep from sounding like a broken record, we'll just get into the fact that Steven ages weirdly. We learn that gyms don't age. They can still get hurt and die, but they're effectively ageless. Steven isn't that, due to his human half. But he doesn't age like a normal human either, thanks in part to his gym half. Steven's age more so depends on his mental maturity. If he feels like a kid, he'll be in the form of a kid. If he feels old, he'll be old. This idea will be played around as the series goes on, but for now it's just another unpredictable thing that Steven can do. He keeps the gyms and the audience on their toes, that's for certain. We see how old Steven interacts with the rest of the human cast oblivious to the fact. He visits Sadie and Lars, and once they believe him to be the real Steven instead of just some old geezer, he asks Lars if he can help him in his birthday suit, to which we cut to Steven running out of the shop with Sadie practically telling him never to return. It's funny. But what really steals the show is when the gyms discover him in his extremely frail state. The gyms look and feel hopeless, and we've never seen that. I know what I'm going to say is perhaps reading too deep into things, but I can't help but feel that there's an underlining theme to all of this. See, in the past, whenever Steven was in mortal danger, it was due to, well, mostly his incompetence, but what I mean to say, it's usually a danger that's external. It's something that, no matter how dire the situation is, they can always gain control of it. But this is something that they can't control. Have gym or not, they can't stop the mortality of a human being. Gyms can die, but we find out that their death is unnatural, so as long as they're not damaged beyond repair, they can potentially live forever. A human's death is inevitable. They can live a healthy life and not break a single bone in their body, and they can still get sick, and they can certainly still die. They're going to die, and there's nothing that the gyms can do about that. And I'd imagine that that would gnaw at them. It's something that they cannot help, nor could they stop with brute force. This is especially the case for Garnet, who out of desperation begins to violently shake Steven, who is a frail old man. And she's rightfully called out. They can't stop it. It's only when Steven, seemingly on the brink of death, notices the gyms arguing over Garnet's actions that causes his mental being to change back into an adult. It's at this point that the gyms realize that his age fluctuates with his mental being, so they tell him to stop acting like an old man and just act like his normal self. And it works. Neat. And while I'm glad everything resolved itself, I can't help but wonder what the gyms will actually do when Steven does eventually bite the dust. Lars and the Cool Kids. Like with Tiger Millionaire, this was another episode that I disliked when I was younger, and yet again I found myself enjoying now. Steven helps Lars fit in with the quote-unquote cool kids, but runs into problems with a magical monster that jeopardizes things. Lulls ensue. The kids in question are Buck, son of Mayor Dewey, Jenny, twin sister of Kiki, and Sour Cream, half-brother of Onion. This is a Lars episode through and through and touches on his insecurities. He desperately wants to fit in with this crowd, but is hesitant to do so, believing that there's a certain way that must be done in order to get accepted. And time again, he is proven wrong. The thing I like about this episode is that Lars portrays these group of kids as being a super cool gang, and they have their own standards, and that's simply not true. They certainly have a chill vibe to them, and even show signs of delinquency, but they're still just kids. When Steven asks to be involved with their activities, they accept him and Lars with open arms. They're just trying to vibe. Lars thinks that they're super badass kids who don't follow the rules, yet here they are not moving a vehicle until everybody has their seatbelt on. Hell, the car itself isn't even some Joy hot rod, but Jenny's family pizza car. I love it. Even after that, there's still more. There's an organic moss-like monster that used to belong to Rose, but after her passing, it was unkept. And later on, Steven tries to convince the others not to go into the lake, and it consumes the cool kids as a consequence for their foolishness. After ruining what he thought was a good time to fit in, Lars lashes out at Steven, saying that if it weren't for his deceased mother, none of this would be happening. Enraged, Steven pops right back and says that he has no right to judge, and that she saw the best in everyone, including jerks like Lars. In the past, we've seen Lars treat Steven rather poorly, and Steven, being naturally kind-hearted, doesn't really mind it, or is too oblivious to it. But this time, he steps over the line, and Steven blows up at him, and rightfully so. What right does Lars have to blame somebody, a child's dead mother, for all of the bad things that are happening to him because he's too insecure to be a part of the gang himself? That is why I love this episode so much, because this is the first time that Steven actually calls him out on his bullshit, and he finally backs down. Steven tells him the only way to save them is to climb up the hill. And just seeing these two not bickering but working together is honestly a huge highlight. They do eventually reach the hill, and the moss blooms over all of Beach City, and it's quite beautiful. The day is saved, and Steven, being a real one, gives Lars all the credit. Yet another great episode. In the episode Onion Trade, Steven trades Pearl's magical duplicating artifact in exchange for an action figure. This is an Onion episode, and Lord do we know it. Onion is absolutely insane and has a pretty distinct personality, with virtually no dialogue. Yeah, Onion, aside from speaking with his father in a somewhat endearing gibberish, is pretty much mute. And I love how random and absolutely destructive he is. In a fiery background, we see this little kid with a blank expression. Like, this kid is a psychopath. Steven giving this child unyielding power for a toy is so him. Does it look like this is the face of mercy? And the fact that when he does do this, Pearl asks him why he didn't simply duplicate the toy that he wanted. But suffice it to say, Steven does stop Onion, and the day is saved. So, what did we learn today? Is it too late for him to grow old again and die? Just saying. Thanks so much for watching. Next time we meet, we will see Steven and Pearl's sword fighting. Oh, what fun. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe, or share it. Push notifications. And as always, thank you guys so much for your support. See you next time.